The social media ban that had a soft announcement on Tuesday has already begun to backfire, but on the wrong people. In this video, we're going to go through some of the shady stuff that the government have done to push a UK social media ban, and how inevitably this has actually caused a serious problem for child safety and your digital privacy. But before we kick this off, with all that's happening, as a legal adult, you want to be able to be in control of your digital privacy, and you can with private internet access. Now, private internet access is a VPN, and what this really means is that when you're using private internet access, you can change your location so it doesn't appear like you're actually in the country that you're really in. And you can change your location to one of 91 different countries and thousands of servers. Also, private internet access don't log what you do online, so no governments or even your internet service provider can access what you're actually doing online, so your browsing experience is, well, fully private. With the link down below, you get 2 months free and 87% off, and it's also the best way to support the channel. And with everything that's happening, you're probably gonna need a VPN very soon, if not already. Anyway, let's get back to the video. Now let's go back a little bit. When the UK government were deciding how to implement a social media ban, they carried out a case study, and they also carried out a public consultation wherein they asked the British public for their thoughts on the topic. Essentially, do you think that social media should be banned for under 16s in the UK? Now, part of this consultation included working with organisations and charities in the UK that focus on child safety, and this actually led to Keir Starmer parading grieving parents outside 10 Downing Street. Now, I say it like this because if someone's child had passed away because they were hit by a car, then those parents should be consulted on matters like road safety. But in this instance, these parents were involved in a campaign to ban social media, wherein the loss of their children was not caused by social media. Just all of their children happened to have social media. We covered this in more detail in a previous video, but for example, someone watching suicide content on the dark web isn't justification to ban Instagram and require all legal adults to submit ID to use Instagram. Cause, effect and symptom are not being considered here, and they're just kind of tying bits of information together. But this is where things have really started to take a turn for the worse. One of the biggest proponents of a social media ban was the Molly Rose Foundation, named after a young girl who sadly took her life after saving images of sad quotes on Instagram and Pinterest. I personally don't believe that now this is just my opinion, and by all means I'm not qualified to say this, but I don't believe that Instagram or Pinterest was the cause of this. I think that was probably more a symptom of the way that person was feeling, but I digress. The Molly Rose Foundation have now actually changed their stance, and they've issued a warning that a rushed social media ban could unravel and actually be more dangerous for children. And we will go into exactly what was said and what's actually happened here, but as a moral responsibility, I would like to tip my hat to the Molly Rose Foundation. We've seen a lot of organisations campaign for social media bans, regardless of what the data shows. And the data shows that it doesn't really work. And we can see that from Australia's social media ban, with around 80% of teens still using social media, and those that aren't using social media reporting that they feel isolated and lonely, which I think is a dangerous recipe. But the Molly Rose Foundation have looked at all of this recent data and changed their mind accordingly. And that's kind of how science and data should work. When presented with new information, you should reassess your stance. And that's exactly what they've done. The Molly Rose Foundation, founded by the family of Molly Russell, a British teenager who took her own life after viewing harmful online content on Instagram and Pinterest, said a ban would fail to make children safer because they would circumvent age checks and could move to less regulated areas such as gaming. Now, I do have to say that gaming would be covered under the ban, but circumvention methods will be the most likely avenue here. And the truth is that kids won't be using safe and good VPNs because kids don't have bank accounts. In reality, they'll probably be using sketchy VPNs from dodgy ads, and we've seen how that has worked out when it comes to digital privacy. But the reality is regardless of all the benefits of VPNs and all of this stuff, this law and regulation will become circumvented by pretty much everyone. Andy Burrows, the Molly Rose Foundation chief executive, said that a rushed ban would quickly unravel and was not supported by the evidence. Parents have been clear they want decisive action that will actually work, he said. If Keir Starmer prioritises short-term announcements over what the evidence and experts say is needed, children and parents will be left to count the cost and child protection will take a step back. Now, this next bit is bloody important. So I want you all to take note. In fact, if you don't watch any part of the video, watch this bit. The UK social media ban trial ended a couple of weeks ago. And during this trial, they carried out tests to see which is the safest way to stop kids from using social media. And one of the things that they did was teach parents how to use parental controls at home. And I've heard it through the grapevine by some reliable sources that the data on the study shows that this is by far the most effective way to protect children. Not laws or regulation, simple training programs for parents. And some of these charities and organizations get access to this data before the public does, because a lot of these organizations are part of these studies. Now, it's worth noting the full data and full report hasn't been publicly published yet, but that didn't stop Keir Starmer from making his announcement on Tuesday that they were planning to implement age verification checks on social media. Can you see where this is going? The decision has already been made before the results have been published. And one of the reasons we're seeing all of these organizations now say, to hell with the social media ban, let's set up training programs instead, is purely down to the fact that they truly do actually want to protect children. These are charities and organizations that their goal is to make sure that previous things that have happened to children don't happen again. And the data would appear to show that the best way to do it is with actual child protections in place at home in a household. And I will do a full video when the document is published, and I've been told about some of the data in it, and it's pretty damning for the government. But this is where we get to the sad bit, and it's the bit that kind of has me banging my head against the wall. The government don't care about protecting children. They used these organisations as a carrot to dangle to appeal to the public. And now these organisations are speaking out against the government and the social media ban. The government will just kick them to the curb, because it's all an optics game. And we've spoken about this on the channel before, but it's so important. A member of parliament or the Prime Minister himself wants public favourability. They know that protect the kids, save them children is always a good avenue to go down. But at the same time, they have goals that they need to meet as a country, whether it's, countrywide surveillance, whether it's facial recognition cameras in towns and cities, whether it's receiving copies of your passports or identification. Governments and government parties have agendas that they need to meet. So what they do is they find a way that they can meet their agenda whilst winning public favourability. So you want a social media ban, but you need to make it popular. How would you make the public rally behind it? So you dangle the carrot of, look, these parents have gone through the worst thing possible, and us, the Labour Party, we're going to fix it by implementing a social media ban, regardless of how much or how little social media played in the original problem. This is literally Government 101. We've seen this with every single piece of controversial legislation. Marketing is a big thing for the government, and that's essentially what this was. And the problem with this is that it doesn't matter now what these organisations and charities now say. Now they've seen this rush proposal by Keir Starmer at a random tech event in London, they don't have the ability to now have any impact on this being reversed. A lot of these organisations were all ears for a social media ban until the announcement was made, but now it's too late for them to turn back. And this isn't me throwing a jab at any of these organisations. Their focus is protecting children. That's what they're going to put the most time, effort, attention, money, resource, all of that into. The problems with the British government abusing that, and it's incredibly sad to see, because the end result of this is the concerns that they've raised coming to fruition and not being able to do anything about it. It's a shame, but I want to applaud them as an organisation for obviously understanding the data and realising that although on paper banning social media, from a PR perspective looks like a good thing, the data shows it's actually more harmful. And as an organisation, they've assessed this and gone, actually, yeah, this isn't the right move. I'm going to keep following this because we kind of suspected that something like this would happen, but I didn't, to be honest, in my personal opinion, I had no expectation that any of the organisations would kind of U-turn on their stance on it, because typically, when you spend months campaigning for something, it's very rare that you kind of back down a little bit from that. You usually go full speed ahead. But what this really does show, compared to a lot of organisations out there, is that their cause of protecting children is their true cause, because clearly they've looked at the data and gone, right, well, it doesn't protect children, so what else can we do? It's an interesting topic and worrying to say the least, but I'm hoping that something positively can be done to actually protect children in aid of organisations like the Molly Rose Foundation, because the social media ban isn't it. Anyway, thank you for watching. Check out Private Internet Access VPN at the link down below, and I shall see you all in the next video.